All right,
He's
we're
taking
live.
it back.
We're good. We're live. We're good to go.
Hello, everyone.
What's
Well,
up?
look where we're at tonight, boys.
Might be
Pardon?
News Network. I'm sharing it right now. Novak.
Novak, you don't have earbuds?
No, I have the wireless ones.
Does it have? It doesn't have a microphone on it.
Mike,
No, he has a PC, so
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha. PC, poor crap. Ha 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 ha. Don't you hate people who? Okay, so here we are. We're on the Novak and Frantz show. Welcome. It's funny because Novak had just invested like $700 to get this cool table and this desk behind me where Taylor and CJ are supposed to sit. And then the coronavirus happened. So I got some pretty cool furniture for my third floor right now for free. Thanks, Novak. Here with us today, of course, is the producer of the show and the owner of the president of the Might Be News Network, Taylor Cooper. Say hi, Taylor.
Hi, everybody. How's it going out there?
Apparently, Taylor is so poor from not working that he can't afford to have an extra light in his apartment, so he's sitting in the dark. We have the president of all business affairs for Brandon Novak Incorporated Worldwide, CJ Schumard.
how's it going?
Who's supposed to?
I got nothing really to add yet. I'm waiting for the topic we were talking about before because
Okay.
I'm very curious about this.
Okay, and so we have Brandon Novak.
I am here.
And-
Very awkward, weird, peculiar position and situation. I hate technology. I hate computers. I hate laptops. CJ, as you just referred to, is the elaborate, beautiful title that you give him. I already forgot it. But
It's different every time. So there's no reason to remember it.
yeah, but he's the guy that handles all my social media shit and goes through my emails and stuff. So with that being said, the world abruptly had come to a halt, and my employer said, Novak, we think it's best that you finally get a laptop. We're going to send you one. So you're talking to a guy who's now doing maybe his 5th Zoom meeting in his life on his own laptop. Pretty big deal for me tonight here, boys.
It's awesome. Great. It's
Well,
great.
congratulations, Novak.
Yeah.
You look blurry as hell. So we can see by the quality of your webcam how much your employer values you.
I think this is a recycled computer, to tell you the fucking truth. I'm not really happy with it.
It was one sitting in the storage lockers down the hall that they were like, this one works.
Well, I made an addendum to my appearance today too, Novak. I didn't wear a hat because some people private messaged me and asked me if I was going bald, if that's why I was always wearing a hat. So I wanted to show you my lush, lavish, full head of hair that I have in my mid-40s. So I feel great about it. And so today, guys,
I don't.
Pardon?
Cool.
I didn't hear it. That's the great thing about this show is that we are all the same audio level, so I can easily speak over you when you interrupt me. Novak, how you been keeping busy during the coronavirus? What's up?
Me, I've been good. It was weird at first when the news broke and the government put these systems in play and regulations and guidelines to follow. I wanted to be up to date on it. I wanted to know what was right, what was wrong, what to do, what not to do. So the first day I woke up and I put the news on to learn some stuff about the coronavirus. And in doing so, my intentions were to just watch like 20 minutes, a half hour. And I ended up watching news for like 6-7 hours. All these different networks, all these different narratives were being created. And by the time I was finished, I left with more questions than answers. And I was full of like anxiety, fear, panic, just didn't know. I just didn't know what to do. And I started to get to that ledge. And then I was saying like, okay, well, if the world ends, my job ends. If my job ends, my health insurance is canceled. If my health insurance is canceled, then paychecks stop coming. Then paychecks stop coming. Then how do I pay my mortgage? Now my house is getting foreclosed. Then I have a car payment. Then I have car insurance. And then and the snowball effect really took place. And I went to bed that night really, really losing my mind.
Sounds to me like a time. Do you remember when you first got out of your last rehab in 2015? 5 years ago, and you were in a rehab house, and you were out of laundry detergent, and you had a similar meltdown. You're like, oh my God, you don't understand. If I can't do my laundry, I don't have my schedule. My schedule involves folding the laundry as soon as it's done. And then I'm gonna have a nervous breakdown. And then boom, boom, boom. The dominoes fell in your head where you were already a street addict again, wandering the streets of Baltimore for the next fix because you didn't have laundry soap. You remember that?
That's totally 100% an accurate portrayal or description of my events that day. Because really, and I've been talking to my therapist about it, right? I still seek private therapy. I meet with her once a week, and God damn, it's hard to talk when I see like a picture of a hot girl's face come up in the bottom with these heart emojis.
I thought you were looking at me.
But anyways, you know, Frantz, like, I've become a creature of habit. You know what I mean? Like I do really well with systematic order. And that started from my beginning of sobriety. You know, like I needed to have a timeline of things that needed to be done and when and in what order. I'm not good with idle time. That was kind of my whole life prior to sobriety. So then I come in here and I have it really well. It's good, right? I know where I'm at tomorrow, the next day, 3 weeks ago, 2 months ahead. It's all in my planner, right? It's all right here. And then
open that up.
Okay. You want me to from where?
From anywhere. A random page. You're the full
So this is
page.
January.
Okay. It looks orderly. It does look it does look like you're trying to maintain some kind of discipline and look at all those scribbles. That's poor planning.
What's in pen?
Poor planning.
February. And then this is where the coronavirus hit. So as you can see, things start getting scratched out.
Yeah. You know what's funny? And I hope you don't have any of your Tinder dates on there because people can read that.
April. Funny.
No. So that's exactly the way I prefer to do it. I use index cards, and I write down everything I need to do and keep the index cards handy. Like, for example, here's my shopping list that I did, and so it's always in my pocket, so I take it to the store. And so, you know, I don't like
list of things that I have to do per day, right?
Yeah.
So I have my calendar planner, and then here's my daily lists.
I hate it. I hate the younger generation, the millennials and the Zoomers, even more so. Like, I have an app for that, and it's like, fuck you, dude. I have it in my pocket. You got to go to your phone. Now, if I'm listening to my fucking YouTube debates on, if I'm listening to Stick Hexenhammer 666 on my fucking iPhone, I can just whoop out my piece of paper and look at it in the other hand. So it's all a matter of preference with how we keep our schedules. But man, yeah, I'm an analog guy as much as I can be.
So then, as soon as the news broke, right, we were supposed to quarantine, shelter in place, curve the number, help to flatten the curve, 6 feet apart, social distancing. Now gyms are closed. Now my AA meetings are closed. Now, like, any form of connection and forms of normality, and definitely any form of schedule is out the window.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day I woke up, right, and it's typical with me in life in general. When the pain becomes great enough, I'll do whatever it takes in order to get me out of my position. So going to bed that night, going down that rabbit hole, and then, by the time my eyes shut, I believed that like I was going to wake up in the morning and have to become homeless again. Right. That's how crazy my mind gets. So what I did was the next morning I woke up and I had to implement like new routines and what my days look like now. Starting from that day forward was I wake up and the first thing that I do is I accept the situation exactly as it is. Right. Which means I do not put expectations on where I believe it should be or the direction I think it should head in. Right. So I accept and I put no expectations on it. And then the third thing that I do is I practice media consumption. Right. So every day at 11 p.m. I watch the first part of the 11 o'clock news until it gets to the weather. And then I'm done. Mm-hmm. And then I start my day out every day with I wake up, I get on my knees and I start in prayer. And then I do an hour in-house workout, total like jailhouse kind of thing. And then I finish it with a 3-mile jog around the city. And I do that Monday through Friday. And I learned that shit from being incarcerated. If you've ever had the privilege of doing time being incarcerated, you know, what you learn is that the quicker you come up with a routine, the faster your bid will go, meaning the quicker your time will go. And before you know it, you're being released. So I just basically stem back from that. And
yeah, when I was in prison, I was on the other side of the bars. So I ran the Pennsylvania Department of Education, and I would work with the inmates to get them their GED exams. I did that for about 7 years, and yeah, schedule seems to be everything. But what I wanted to, I guess, ask you was, when you started getting freaked out, did you see that poor Chris Cuomo got the coronavirus?
Well, that was the thing. I started seeing it. I started seeing all these people popping up with the virus, right? He had it. And then
that's debatable.
What's the other black guy?
All right, here's the deal.
The London actor.
The London actor, Tom Hanks.
No, come on.
No.
Tom Hanks said he had it. I don't know.
Tom Hanks apparently did. This guy's a big Idris.
Yes, it's close. Close to that.
Actor. I like. He got it. Then Tom Hanks. All these basketball players, and I'm like, dude, fuck. I'm young. I don't really have any. I have no. Believe it or not, after 23 years of active addiction, mostly IV heroin and cocaine use, I don't have any underlying issues, which is insane. But so I didn't believe I was susceptible, right? I go to the gym. I'm healthy. I'm active. I don't smoke. I watch what I eat. But my mother, she's a fucking billboard for a recipient of the coronavirus. She chain smokes cigs all day. She drinks Pepsi like it's going out of style. She exercises not in her fucking vocabulary. No. Social distancing, that's like speaking Greek to her. She's in your face. She touches you. It's insane. So I was more scared for her.
Yeah, yeah.
Is she still going to Whole Foods? Because she called me one day to say she went down to Whole Foods every day and just sat in the cafe area while they were open.
Which is the worst thing you can do. And I guarantee, I know that, knowing your mother, I guarantee she's so stubborn. I guarantee she won't wear gloves. If she has a mask, she'll keep it in her purse. She's, oh yeah, I have my mask. You had the mask. Did you use the mask, Pat?
Yeah.
I
took her to the grocery store, and how do you tell a 78-year-old woman who's been a successful woman her whole life. She's completely 100% self-sufficient as far as financially and really raised 3 kids on her own. That now at 78, she doesn't know what she's doing and she needs to listen to us. I take her to the grocery store. She literally wants to touch everything in the aisles, open every door. Little kids walk by and she patted them on their heads.
Kids have every disease in the world. Every time I hang out with little kids, I get sick for like a week. They're human petri dishes, the little fuckers. I'm glad I don't have them.
Yeah, little kids and old people, right? Yeah. My mother and kids, petri dishes of fucking diseases. So I was more nervous for them because I spent a lot of time with my mother and I didn't want to put her in a position.
I see. Well, anyway, back to Chris Cuomo. Let's talk about that because
he's my favorite anchor on CNN. I like him a lot.
I don't dislike him. I mean, I enjoyed watching him and Andrew Cuomo fight over who the mother liked the best. I get it. They like to have this little rivalry for the sake of the cameras.
He's insanely intelligent.
Well, let's not overdo it, Novak. So no. So anyway, so he said that he had to start broadcasting from home.
I saw that
because he had the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Now he does a radio show from his basement, and so one of the stories he was telling was he doesn't really like his job that much because it's not really valuable as far as what his time is worth. And one of the examples he gave of one of the reasons he's not enjoying his fame is because.
Are you saying that he thinks he deserves more financially?
No, I think did you ever meet an artist who ends up designing book covers for elementary school textbooks? Mm-hmm. A fine artist, it's like that. It's like, this is not worth my time, but I have something I have to do.
I see what you're saying.
So he was expressing that. And one of the examples that he cited why he's not enjoying his career is that he was out, and what he described as a fat tire biker came and had a lot of shit to say to him. And this really pissed him off. And none of us like trolls and that kind of stuff, but it was interesting that a man who's quarantined to broadcast to CNN and his radio show from his basement brought that up just then. Well, it turned out the guy who was on the bicycle decided to go public with it. And he said, yeah.
Wait, so what happened? A fat, tired biker confronted Chris Cuomo?
That's the way Chris Cuomo described it. Now, this fat tire biker, when you hear fat tire biker, I picture a big guy in big fat dude in a Hell's Angels outfit, on a Harley, who will kick your ass if you look at him the wrong way. So the guy who was the biker came out and wanted to talk about it publicly. So he's a 65-year-old white bearded old man that looks like a skinny version of Santa Claus with a trim beard. And he was saying he got pissed off because Chris Cuomo, and by the way, he voted for his brother. He voted for Andrew Cuomo, right? So he's not just some far-right Trump supporter who hates all the lefties. Not one of these guys. He's on the far left. He said he was out on his bike, and he saw Chris Cuomo with his wife, his 2 kids, and there was another woman, probably a real estate agent or something like that, because they were standing in front of a house that the Cuomos were building. So
now, is this while Chris is supposed to be home with the virus?
Yes.
Quarantine?
Yes.
Trying to follow the story here.
Yes. Yes. And so he said that he went up there and he pulled his bike up to the fence and was like, hey, Chris Cuomo, what are you doing? Why are you with your family? Why are you with your wife? Why aren't you social distancing? Why aren't you at home obeying the quarantine that people like you, the Hollywood and New York elite, these social distancing rules that you're guilting us into obeying?
Well, that's where I was getting my news from, and following and abiding by what they were telling me. There's
a saying that the elite have, Novak: rules for ye, but not for me. You see, Novak, these guys are important. These guys are from New York and Hollywood. There are exceptions to the rules that peons such as yourself should obey. And I think that, once you admit that, these people who are telling you what to do are your social betters, the happier you'll be. So, okay. So fast forward another week, Chris Cuomo comes out with this video where he emerges from his basement, where he says he's been self-quarantining for 6 weeks. And he walks up the stairs. Now, granted, the person filming it is like a child's height. So I guess it's one of his kids or whatever. But he walks up, emerges from the basement. Hello, family. I haven't seen you for 6 weeks. No one's glad to see him. So one of 2 things. One, he was lying about being in the basement for 6 weeks, or he didn't lie and was in the basement for 6 weeks, and the guy on the bike lied, and his family liked him better in the basement. So it's just it's funny how he wanted to seem like a tough guy with a story about getting confronted by a biker, and it turns out he was just lying. He got in a car with his wife and kids when he supposedly had coronavirus, put them at risk, disobeyed all social distancing rules and all of the all of the rules that we're all supposed to obey. But anyway, all right. I have some good news, everybody.
Well, wait. Well, that was a fucking horrible ending.
Well, how do you want me to end it? Do you want me to morally judge the man?
I have a million questions here. So, does he have coronavirus? Does he not have coronavirus?
What do you think? He says he did. Either he's a liar, either he had it or he didn't.
The story was just like me watching the news the other night. I leave with more questions than answers.
Well, in my opinion, if he did have the coronavirus, he was wrong to take his family in a car and go to see their brand new house. And he's not a stupid man. He's intelligent, like you said. And I agree. So why would an intelligent man get in a car with his wife and kids when he has the dreaded coronavirus and go to all see their new house together? And, so
when did that happen?
Basically, you're saying that
all this happened in the past.
Cuomo has been saying that he had coronavirus. He's been broadcasting from his basement, this and that. People are saying he says his wife has it now too, but this is totally false, according to some guy that he ran into.
Well, Chris Cuomo was the one that said he encountered the biker
Okay.
and was a tough guy.
Okay.
Now, this is during the time frame when he's supposed to be in quarantine. And so the biker came out and said, yeah, I saw him. It was just last week when he was supposed to be in quarantine. I called him out for that. And then Chris Cuomo puts out the video where he emerges from the quarantine. It's like, where in the timeline do you have a time portal where you went to another time when you didn't have coronavirus? Anyway, I don't want to get hung up on the details. It's a great story. Second only to the Tara Reid stuff that's going on with Joe Biden. But let's switch gears here, ladies and gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
I have a very important announcement to make. It's at the printers. Here's my proof cover. The Streets of Baltimore, of course. It's
Way
all,
to fucking
there
show.
we go. I know. Well, I can't. There's only. I'm kind of limited because it's on manual iris, and I can't change it once we're
No,
broadcasting.
you're full of.
I know. I blew it. I blew the fucking announcement. Let's never release the book. Anyway, here we go. The Streets of Baltimore. Here's the cover.
That's the back cover. That's the front cover.
Oh, it is? Okay. God damn it. Anyway, I ruined it. I was so proud a moment ago. But the Streets of Baltimore, the long-awaited sequel to Dream Seller, is currently at the printers, and it's going to be available by mid-May.
Yes.
Mid-May. All right.
Yeah. This has been a 8-year-long venture. You know, I'm just going to say it. God is fucking great, right? Because remember all the times that I attempted to rush the process or do whatever I could.
No, I don't.
It's finished. Let's put this out, right?
Yeah.
And if it would have happened then, so many things were not aligned. So many things were out of place that it just would have failed miserably, and it would have made me, us, all of us look really foolish.
Well, when you were going to replace Joe Frantz, that was probably the worst one.
That was in between me fucking heroin and cocaine, you know. I decided it'd be best to have a different co-author at the time, you know, like
Ryan Cleveland.
Yeah.
You're addicted to heroin. Frantz, you're fired. I got Ryan Cleveland. I'm like, okay, because you're not paying me anyway. So you and Cleveland write the next book. We'll see how it goes for you.
Everything aligned. Like I couldn't have written this out better. You know, like and ironically enough, what I think is going to be the launch date, Frantz, and correct me if I'm wrong, is I think we're going to drop it May 25th, which will be my 5-year sober date. Right? I think we might do pre-orders before, but the actual release date. Yeah. So I mean, this sequel to Dream Seller, which was, I'm not trying to sound egotistical here, but it was, I think, is one of the best books in the world, and I'm an avid reader. Maybe that just shows my true narcissism, because like a book
it's
about
possible, but you know, I actually really the Streets of Baltimore is a lot different. So where Dream Seller was a very emotional book, and it starts off with a hard-hitting beginning where it's the worst day and night of a junkie's life, where he has to demoralize himself by prostituting himself to an elderly man in order to procure $10 for a pill of dope. Then he goes into a rehab, and he has a journey through a rehab house where, through a series of flashbacks, we visit his past and get to know his background. So that's the story of Dream Seller. The Streets of Baltimore is a hell of a lot different. Now, while there are very emotional parts in this book, parts of this book that I cried while writing, there is a lot of action, and there's a lot of heroin-polluted romance. You know, there is, man, I just don't want to give anything away. But the way I was able to craft the writing with this one, it's the kind of writing that I enjoy reading a lot more than a book like Dream Seller was. So anyway, I'm just, you know, and it took a long time to write this book. I don't want to go too much into it till we have it in hand and we can actually show it. But the book includes over 50 pages of full color, rare and unseen photos, which pertain to the chapters in the book. And also we were able to procure Novak's arrest records. He gets arrested probably about 7 times in this book. And every time he gets arrested, you get to see the actual
Arrest.
the police arrest records, the court manuscripts, the complaints that people filled out against him, and you get to read a lot of the stuff from the police's point of view. So it tells you a second side as a story and this is the first time something like this has ever been accomplished in an addiction memoir. No one's ever done one like this before. So I'm very, very excited for the release of this book in the next month. And thank you all for being patient.
Real quick, I asked on the comments here if anybody had any questions. One is, are you guys going to do a movie? And the second movie-related question is, if Dream Seller is made into a movie, who would you want to play you, Novak?
Well, originally, we had a movie deal years ago, and I don't want to. I actually would like to save this full topic for another discussion, just because there are certain things that I'm not permitted to say.
Right.
And it's not under the nature of a non-disclosure agreement, because the people we were dealing with were Hollywood moguls, and there were some parts of the story that I have to omit for nefarious reasons. So that said, when we were originally supposed to make the Dream Seller movie, Brandon was supposed to be played by Bam, and Tony Hawk was supposed to play himself, and Bucky Lasek was supposed to play himself. Of course, this is 10 years ago, when they were more similar to they were in age to when you met them in real life. We could have pulled it off. But anyway, the talks are still open for Novak's story to become a scripted movie played by actors. And every now and then we take a meeting about it, but it has to be correct. It has to be right. Everything has to align. It can't be anything that we're going to rush into. It can't be forced. Brandon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I remember the first red flag that we had with the initial deal that you alluded to was that they wanted to recreate the set, meaning Baltimore, in California. It's like
in LA.
Yeah, in LA, in downtown LA, they're going to recreate Baltimore, the streets of Baltimore. No pun intended with the new book, but fuck it, pun intended.
Yeah, I remember we had that conversation. Now we have Novak. Remember we had our first meeting. Oh, all right, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to say it. So we were there. We went to Baltimore to look at some of the locations where you were living on the streets during the time of Dream Seller. We actually visited the abandoned parking garage that you lived in and all this stuff. And then we went to a nice dinner. Now, when you go to the Baltimore Inner Harbor, you always get very gracious waiters and waitresses that like to have a conversation with you and increase your experience. You know, they always say, "Oh, so what are you doing in town? Where are you touring from? What have you visited?" That's part of your job as a waiter. These Hollywood people that we were sitting at the table with were looking at the waiter like this. "Yeah, we're from LA. "Oh, great. What are you doing in town?" "Scouting locations." Looking at their watches, looking at them like that. And the guy's like, oh, that's great. Like, well, I'd like to recommend several drinks. They're indicative to this region of the Baltimore Harbor. And they're just like, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with these guys? They look like angry gorillas from the zoo. So the waiter goes off to put in an order. And I was just like, what? And they looked at me and they go, if a fucking waiter did that in LA, he'd be fucking fired. And I was like, whoa. He's like, don't people know that people go out to power dinners to have meetings and discuss deals? It's like, we're in the Baltimore Harbor tourist area. The guy's doing his job. He's trying to be nice to you, man. Like, fuck you, Hollywood. So,
well, don't leave out the main part. The evening ended with us at the strip joint across the street from the restaurant.
Oh yeah.
Hollywood elite that want to have these power dinners.
Yeah. While their wives and kids are at home, they want to go to the strip bar. And the one guy actually goes, "Hey man, you know," and like the one guy liked black chicks, I guess, because I was talking to this one black chick all night, and he was like, "Hey man, tell her like, I'm like what a Hollywood hotshot I am." I was like, dude, I think she's into me. Like, I don't think she likes the cut of your jib, no matter how big of a Hollywood hotshot like you are. That doesn't matter here. Like, so so anyway, back to the original point was, oh, by the way, still have a photo that I found of him hitting on your ex-girlfriend Mandy, Novak.
Really?
Yeah, I was watching it happen from afar. We were all over BAMs, and I was like, Mandy's sitting there talking to him like this, and he's like, you know how a person's body language is very revealing.
Yeah.
Well, you could just tell he was just taking one step closer and leaning in and trying to woo your girlfriend, Novak.
that wouldn't be the first guy that you caught trying to hit on her when I was going out.
Yeah, that is true. But anyway, let's get back to so these fuckers. So we're showing Baltimore. We're like, okay, this is Baltimore. Brick row homes, boarded up drug dens and squat houses, drug deals on the corner. We can easily rent a block of abandoned homes and recreate some of the drug deals that Novak used to partake in. He goes, "Why would you do that? You're shooting Hollywood, man." And I'm like, Hollywood doesn't look like this. They're not brick row homes built in the 1920s anywhere. He goes, "You build a facade, man. You bring a crew, you rebuild it." I'm like, I wanted to make a low budget independent movie. Like, I don't want to spend $80 million. We are not making the Avengers starring Novak in Baltimore buying drugs. Like, we don't.
Speak for yourself, Frantz.
Well, it was their intention that the more a film costs, the more you make. And it's like, guys, but for 1/10 the time and 1/20th of the budget, we can make a better film. Like, we don't have to recreate Baltimore. We can use the real thing and it's better. Like, do you ever see a Hollywood movie and it's like created on a soundstage and it's a diorama and you know that it's not the real location? It just doesn't feel real. Or I don't know. So,
well, you're
a myriad of reasons.
You're a filmmaker, so that's what you see. But the average, citizen, American, whatever you want to call them, doesn't see that generally. You know what I mean?
I believe you're wrong. I believe that people have a sixth sense about how reality feels and how it looks on camera. And
where was the Goonies filmed at?
Pardon?
Where was the Goonies filmed at?
Cape Hampshire, Nevada.
Now, see, I would have guessed
I just made it up.
Filmed in Oregon.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
I
know a lot of it was filmed on a soundstage with the shipboard at the end.
I would have known that.
Yeah,
I don't know that. I believe it was filmed in Oregon, where they said it was filmed.
They probably did. I just made that up, but you believed it, which is all that matters.
Well, to give credit where it's due, the first 2 passes on the scripts that they made for Dream Seller were good, and then the further along it got, the more people were involved, the worse it became.
Well, what happened was I wrote the first draft of it, and then I sat down with you.
Credit. No, you said the first couple.
I was about to bring you into it and give you your due diligence.
I wrote one.
Okay. I wrote the first draft based on the stories that you and me agreed on. So it was good. And so, oh my God. You're lucky we're not in the same room, young man. Anyway, yeah, you're right. Every draft of the script got worse and worse. And then we had one final committee meeting on like the 6th draft of the script. And we're like, look, let's just circle all the parts we like and all the parts we don't like. The only parts that remained that were circled were the parts that you and I came up with. So it's like, why do we have, and they're, oh God, they would always say this shit. They'd be like, oh yeah, we're going to get this Hollywood hotshot script writer, fresh out of film school. It's like, I don't want somebody fresh out of film school. I don't want a young guy in it who's 27. I want a seasoned old guy who knows addicts. Like, basically, the movie they wanted to make was The Basketball Diaries with skateboarding.
Which is a great movie.
Yeah. But that's because that was a true story about the basket. Like, they literally rewrote every scene of The Basketball Diaries with you and a skateboard wherever there was a basketball.
It got to a point, Frantz was like, when I did interviews, he said, look, I need you to do me a favor. When they ask what your favorite movie is, I need you to stop saying Basketball Diaries. Create this narrative around that and just replace fucking Leonardo DiCaprio with you with a skateboard. Basketball. Fun FYI, I think a fun story here to allude to was, so Frantz, little do you know that when we went to that business mogul's office, the Hollywood business mogul, the one who was going to fucking finance this whole thing, very, very well.
Ponzi scheme. Go ahead.
You know, Forbes he was in like the Forbes top 100 or 400 richest men in the world or whatever at one point. This guy's, you know, a who's who. And I go in there with Bam and I think Terry Hardy at the time, and I'm my typical self. And I somehow negotiate the fact that I can't leave that office until I have grocery money for Mandy and myself. And they write me a fucking check to go buy groceries with when I get back to Baltimore from Hollywood. So wow. I think now's a good time for you to segue into why I was no longer allowed to talk to the publishers. When I I have a theme of doing that.
Well, you would call them when you were high and tell, like, I would get called.
Who were you talking about? Who was I calling? Like, set that up.
Okay. Well, there was the Hollywood guys who were involved with the movie, but also the publisher for the book, which actually the Hollywood guys are used to drug addicts. Like probably 70% of the Hollywood writers I know, like, are in AA. Like, it's bad because part of the dream that Hollywood sells you about being famous is that it's glamorous to cheat on your wife, to do cocaine, and get hookers, and be able to sleep around and you know, I don't know, defile yourself by having sex with complete strangers at parties.
I mean, that big meeting where I convinced them to write me a check for grocery money. Afterwards, we went to a very famous restaurant in Hollywood, Koi. And the kind where paparazzi's there, like flashing pictures when you get out of the we had a limo and we went there. And I sit next to this guy at the table, just alluding to how right you are, Frantz. And he's just drunk. He's loaded. He's out of his mind. He's insanely wealthy. And money and cocaine just continuously keep falling out of his pocket the whole time.
Yeah. It's sad.
I'm using the cocaine. And me and Bam are going to the bathroom and doing it.
But it's funny because that's the dream. That's what you're supposed to want to do. That's the attraction. Oh, I get to cheat on my wife. I get to get hookers. Oh, I get to do cocaine. Oh, I get to drink in the middle of the day. Like, I want you. It's just so it's just so sick to me how Hollywood will subvert American culture into something so sick and degenerate and perverted. Like it fucking makes me sick. But anyway, back to you calling the publishers. So I remember I got a call from Richard Ember.
And this is the publishers of Dream Seller.
Yes. The publishers of the book Dream Seller. Of the editor we were working with was named Richard Ember. Great guy. You know, he was in the 60s and 70s. He was like went to India and was you know, helping people. It was just like a humanitarian and someone who had a deep-rooted appreciation for literature. And so I just got a call from him out of nowhere. And he goes, "Hey, Joe." I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" He goes, "I'm really worried about Novak. I don't think he's sober." And I was like, "Yeah, do you think so?" And so I said, "Well, what leads you to believe this?" Because this is when we were still signing the fucking book deal, and I needed the advance in order to fucking take 6 months off to write. Like, I needed to pay my mortgage, I needed to pay my bills, and if there was no money coming in, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So I was like, "So what leads you to believe it?" He goes, "Well, number one, he couldn't remember my name. And no matter how many times I told him who he was speaking with, he would call me someone else. So first of all, I'm not sure that he had any idea who he was talking to. Second of all, he was trying to get his part of the financial advancement now before anything signed. And he asked me not to tell you even though you would find out once we signed the papers, and there's no money to give him before we signed the contract. That's how you get the money. And he had just a bunch of other stuff. I remember one time, one of the signings we went to, I wish I fucking have the letter somewhere, but I got a letter from the publishers, from the bookstore to the publishers, saying that they were very disappointed in your public appearance, Novak, because they said that you smelled. That was one of their things. They said he appeared intoxicated from the night before, and he also smelled. You were offensive, man.
Tell about when I marched into her office as a 5-star general, demanding all the stuff.
Oh God! Oh,
that's what I was alluding to.
Yeah. Well, we all went to meet with
the bigwig.
Yeah, Michaela is her name, and so Michaela, we went to her office, and this is her first time meeting you. She loves you now. She's a huge fan. She follows what you do, and
tell them who she is, what she does.
Michaela is like the president of Kensington, Press. Like she's the one all the fucking deals go with. She's the one that says yes or no to everything, whether it's what books are going to sell, what categories are going to sell in, what authors are marketable, all this kind of stuff. And she's excellent at her job. And so you went in there, Novak, and I knew you were doing drugs because I
still to this date do not recall any of this. I have no idea or ever remember going to her office or being in New York meeting her. Couldn't tell you what she looked, nothing.
Wow. Yeah. So at one point, Mandy was with us, and at one point, you picked a fight with Mandy, and you're like, "Fuck you! I'm not even gonna walk with you. I'm gonna walk ahead of you." And you went and went all the way around the corner real fast, and then you were waiting there, and like, you just fucking swallowed a handful of pills. So we go into Michael's office, and there you are. You're negotiating the electronic rights because Kindle and all that stuff had just kind of started, and there were different book clubs online where you could read chapter by chapter, you could buy chapters. They were experimenting with different ways to have electronic books. And so you're like, yeah, I think what we need to talk about. And all we were doing was meeting them. That was it. We were there to shake hands, say hi. Here's Novak. Here's what he looks like. Oh, you shook hands. You shook hands. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye. Now we're going to have a nice lunch with Richard Ember, our editor. You decided you were going to turn it into a power meeting, negotiate. You were not leaving that room until you had a deal in place for the sequel book, and you also increased the the cash exchange for our existing contract with electronic rights. And she goes, and you're like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, like these electronic rights, man, like it's a new thing, man. It could go anywhere. And like, it's like really valuable. What I hear, it's like electronic gold. And it's like, well, what I'm willing to do, you would always do this. And I'm like, God, he's doing the fucking things with his hand again. What I'm willing to do is I'm going to give you that. And in addition, we can do like the sequel rights. Like we can wrap it up in all one thing. She's like, she's looking at you like this. Stoic. Not one fucking facial muscle moved. She's staring at you like this. She waits till you're done. She goes, well, Brandon, we already have the two things that you've discussed, the electronic rights for Dreamseller and the first right of refusal for the next book. So unfortunately, everything you've offered me are things that we already have. So what do you think you're going to have lunch with Richard today? That was it. I was like, whoa. Her vibe just went through me. Like I was like, it was like a nuclear bomb when the atoms shoot off and like fucking suck the flesh off of your fucking skeleton. I was like, she's looking into my soul right now. And then oh my God, dude, the way she looked at me, man, she was just like fucking, you told me this fucker was sober, and I was like, he was for a week.
He was at the time of the phone call.
Yeah. Oh man.
My heart goes out to you. I couldn't, dude. I'm so like fucking overly sensitive to like my surroundings and like hypersensitive to the 10th million degree. And I get so uncomfortable when someone else around me makes something uncomfortable, right? And I can't even imagine being in your shoes, feeling fuck. You said I marched in like a 5-star general demanding me deals.
Oh, dude, in your mind, you were walking out of there till you had $1 million contract in place, and you are not taking no for an answer and negotiating with things with someone already has. It's like you're walking there with nothing. Oh God, dude.
So thank you for sharing that, Frantz. And I just wanted to let the viewers, the audience know that seemed to be a common theme in my life prior to sobriety.
Okay. It shows how well you read the contract.
So, okay, here we go, guys. So, you guys in the chat, sorry that we've been indulging ourselves with our own personal stories. Let's go to some questions. So, any questions about anything? And don't give us like what's up. Don't give us like, I see like one that says what's up.
One is Novak, how is skateboarding during quarantine?
Dude, it's rad. I'm going tomorrow. I'm filming tomorrow and I'm filming Tuesday. I have a video part that's going to be dropping with the Heart Supply, which is a new company that the founder and creator of Element has started. Bam's drop is actually tonight, I believe, at 9 p.m. And then mine drops May 25th, which is my 5-year anniversary. And I have a skate video dropping with it as well. And it's all titled 5. And we're releasing a new book with it. So I've been skating, man. I've been loving it. And you know, it's that language of the heart. It's really good for my soul, and it really allows me and helps me to be in the moment, man, which is really hard to do during these trying times. You heard how I started earlier saying I went down that rabbit hole, and you know, I blinked, and the next thing I know, I was homeless, living on the streets again, trying to figure out where I was going to eat. So it just helps me stay grounded.
Brandon, I have a question. And CJ, you had a story about this. So you know, a lot of people have their stimulus check now. And you know, I didn't fucking get mine. Ryan G got his, that son of a bitch. But yeah, I'm still waiting for mine. But anyway, like I was wondering if drugs, illegal drugs like, you know, street heroin, meth, cocaine, all this weed, if this stuff is more available or less available, or like what it's done to the prices and the marketing and stuff like that.
I know that the masterminds behind getting the drugs to whatever the destination spot is are really taking advantage of COVID-19, right? Because now things are becoming lackadaisical because people are, you know, social distancing, right? They don't want to touch too many things. So with that being said, they're really taking advantage of the postal service and getting a lot of drugs through that I believe ordinarily probably wouldn't make it through, because less things are being checked, because people don't want to touch, people are getting sick, people can't come into work. So they're taking advantage of that. And it's really a catch-22. With the sign of the times, right? People generally drink to escape the realities that have been created for themselves. So take someone who works Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, a very lucrative job, a very healthy career, and a promising future, along with the whole world, goes to work one day and abruptly is terminated, right? Fired on site because it's the sign of the times. Your job is no longer needed here. With that being said, that very same person who had a bright future now is home with his wife and 3 kids 5 days a week. And that really becomes tiring, and it becomes trying. And it's a lot to deal with when they haven't had to deal with that before. And now they want to have a drink, right? Because it'll ease the pain of their fucking nagging wife and kids that won't stop crying.
Nagging wife.
Like 5 bottles, you know, and it's a
nagging wife. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. It goes to like, we're in love. I love you, honey. I see you after work. Boundaries to now.
It goes from that to I can hear you drink your coffee from across the room.
I can hear you breathe.
I can hear you chewing.
Yeah, shut up.
Your snoring is not 1/10 as annoying as the sound of you chewing.
And those
like,
kids,
yeah, dude, you really get on each other's fucking nerves, and you
yeah,
have things like that.
So with that being said, no more escape, no more oasis, aka a job to attend to. They start drinking more, and the progression of alcoholism means, you know, more turns into more, turns into more, and then one day they've gotten to a position where they can't stop on their own anymore. Their marriage is in the fucking shitter. Their kids, you know, can't stand dad because he's a lousy drunk, or mom. No more job to return to. Now he decides he needs some help. But guess what? When he was terminated on site, so was his insurance. Now it's really hard for him to get, you know what I mean? So it's that overdose. I mean, I'm sorry, I read a comment that just came out. It's that snowball effect that takes place.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
But CJ, what was the story you said at the one bar that you managed? So everyone, CJ manages a couple bars, is what he does on the side.
Yeah.
When he's not organizing Novak's life.
Yeah,
And so tell me the story about all the fancy cars in the ghetto.
So it's pretty much every day there's Teslas. So I believe it's white people driving them too. So they're coming from like the main line, like the good area, because their connections are not dealing with this, because their drug dealer is probably, you know, a white person with a family and everything, that doesn't want to be exposed dealing drugs, because why are cars showing up to the family home? Because they're not going anywhere. So they're coming to the hood, and they're probably getting taken off and stuff like that, because they have no idea how to conduct themselves.
Yeah.
So you're seeing an influx of high clientele in the hood all of a sudden?
Yeah. Because especially I think with since PA until recently had the liquor stores closed. So, you know, you don't have the alcohol to drink, and
you're in a decision to close liquor stores.
And you're an occasional drug user. So now, you know, you're like the Friday night drug user. Every day's Saturday because you don't have any job. So, all right, I'm done with everything I plan to do today. I'm going to go do coke because that's what I like to do, and that's what they're going to do. And I see them every morning. Sad. 3-4 nice cars.
It's crazy.
CJ, there's a comment that says we want to see CJ on a skateboard. Faux King Flores says they'd like to see you skate, CJ.
You sound like Chris Hansen right there, Frantz.
Have a seat, CJ.
Well, depends what's required of me. You know, I won't trap in because I know I'm going to fall no matter what I attempt. So
CJ has been working out, going to the gym. So
I know you look great, man.
Yeah, well, except that closed. So it's pretty much kayaking now.
That's good, dude. The kayaking is great exercise, man. I fucking love it. So Taylor, have you been scoping out any of these questions here, or should I go to movie picks? What would you guys like? Would you guys, hey, in the chat, do you guys want to do movie picks, or
what do you mean by movie picks?
I got some movie picks because everyone is sitting at home. They don't have much to do. So I have some movie picks that I'd like to recommend. And all right, fuck it. I'm just gonna do it. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of different categories of movies. There's crime drama, there's romance, there's Western, there's comedy. So I like to create my own categories. And so this is a category. Oh, God damn it. You can hardly see it because it's too bright. Anyway, this is a category of movies that I like to call Generation X movies. So these are I'm a Generation X guy. I was in my 20s in the 90s. And so I just wanted to share some movies that were very, very, very important to my generation. The first is Tommy Boy with David Spade and Chris Farley.
Great movie.
I'm holding it at an angle to try and eliminate the glare. But this is a road trip movie. And the road trip movies have always been popular, but this was, I mean, every piece of this was funny. You have to understand, Saturday Night Live back then is not what it is today. Saturday Night Live was important. People would stay home on Saturday night just to watch that comedy, and they would sit through the commercials, and with no internet or no online entertainment, and movies were expensive to rent. I mean, a movie at Blockbuster was $2.99. So, the cast of Saturday Night Live came out with a series of movies, and this Tommy Boy, man, this is so good. And there's actually a couple very emotional parts where you really feel for these characters. Tommy Boy. So the next on my Generation X movie pick list is Dumb and Dumber with Jim Carrey.
Great movie.
Daniels. Another road trip movie, right?
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah, and so this film was, I mean, you know, there was Dumb and Dumber, which Novak, I don't know if you know this, but Troy Miller, who directed Viva La Bam, directed Dumb and Dumber.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to be rude and interrupt you.
Like I do to you all the time.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the sequel to this. What is it, Dumb and Dumber 2? Which I fucking thought that movie was great. You know, and to me, to watch these characters be resurrected 20 years later, it really meant a lot to me. That was like one of those lifetime movie events when the sequel came out. So we also have Pauly Shore in Biodome. Another great
I'm not a fan of him.
This movie is not like his other movies. So we also had Stephen Baldwin in this, and Joey Adams from.
I did see Pauly Shore live recently though in California with Bam doing his stand-up.
Yeah, his stand-up's good,
and he was real, like surprisingly funny. I'm like, dude, I'm not a fan of Pauly Shore. I don't like his movies. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, well, that's how we got his parents were owners of I think a string of comedy clubs. I mean, they would have like Roseanne Barr and Rodney Dangerfield, like all these people in the 80s. So when he got old enough to be in films, like it wasn't that difficult from what I understand about his background. But anyway, Biodome is great because this is when people began to recycle and people became more aware of preserving the environment. There was the ozone scare. It was before they started calling it climate change. They were calling it global warming then. You see, it wasn't. See, nowadays, if it gets cold or if it gets hot, you blame it on people. And you blame it on climate change. Back then, in the 1970s, we were scared of an ice age. In the 1980s, we were scared of the ozone effect, which would make it dramatically hotter. Nowadays, if it's cold or hot, it's because people are evil, right? Don't get me started on that because I think a lot of that global warming stuff is toted politically in leisure politics. So I'm not going to get into it. But anyway, Biodome, great film.
I think 99.9% of debates are, right? Depends on who creates the narrative, meaning what news broadcast are you watching? Is it a Democratic or Republican perspective you're going to walk away with?
And it also depends on who's paying the people doing the studies.
Yeah, so it's
like, dude, if you pay me $400,000 to do a study on whatever you want, I will goddamn make sure I come up with results.
I'll get your desired results all day long. Absolutely.
So this is, I fucking love this movie. This is another Saturday Night Live spinoff with what's his name? God damn it, I'm horrible with names. David Spade and Jeremy Piven. Jeremy Piven's in this. So this movie is called PCU, which actually stands for Port Chester University. But what this movie is the PC movie was brand new. I think it was like 1992 when this movie came out. So we had just heard of PC, and it was sweeping the fucking college campuses.
No, like my awesome laptop.
Pardon?
Like my awesome laptop, PC.
Oh, God. Oh, God. No, you didn't. Well, anyway, so this movie is about, so in the 1970s, you had a lot of movies like Animal House, Delta House. Yeah, you have movies about these crazy, outrageous college campuses where everyone was drinking alcohol and sleeping with everybody, these sex comedies.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Yes, Revenge of the Nerds. Great fucking example. Thank you. Also made by the guy who was supposed to make the Dreamseller movie.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So anyway, so PCU was about, a world where political correctness had taken over the campuses. But what's insane is that this was a negative forecast of the future. Like, what this movie presents is what college campuses have really turned into. There's so many funny things in here. I don't want to spoil anything for you. So PCU, of course. I mean, come on, Clerks, great Generation X movie. I mean, what can you say? This movie changed everything. This movie was one of the reasons I got into independent filmmaking rather than became, decided to go to Hollywood or New York. And unfortunately, the independent movie scene died shortly thereafter. But I ended up making the CKY videos and everything, creating our own genre. So fuck you, Hollywood.
Would you
And
like
of course,
what you're working on right now?
Pardon?
Would you like to tell them what you're working on right now?
Well, wait, I got one more movie.
Okay.
In the Generation X, the top Generation X movies of all time. The Brady Bunch movie.
I've never seen that.
Dude, this was so, what was great about this, see, back in the day before the internet, they would show the Brady Bunch on like all of the UHF channels. So you had UHF and VHF. So all the local affiliates would show the Brady Bunch in rerun ad infinitum. You could, if you were into the Brady Bunch, you could watch like 4 episodes a fucking day. And so with the movie, what they did was they created scenes out of the best moments of the Brady Bunch television shows. So and it was just such an important movie back then. The part 2 was still pretty good too, but not anywhere as near as good as part 1. So those are my Generation X movie picks. And I know that in these troubled times of the COVID-19 virus, we all spend. Look, I'm doing my CNN reporting.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
We all have so many, these trouble. Anyway, so these are some cool movies that you might want to watch. When
I watched Zoolander today. That's a good movie.
Yeah, Zoolander was good.
Yeah,
I didn't see the sequel.
Me neither. Well, I think I might have, but
I always liked what's his name. Who's the dude?
Ben Stiller.
Who?
Ben Stiller.
Yeah, Ben Stiller. Yeah, remember him in Reality Bites? Another Generation X movie that wasn't that good. So anything in the chat we should before we wrap this up?
No, I think we're pretty good over here. Everybody loved your movie picks.
Someone wrote Haggard was good.
This was a lot of fun. We should do this again.
Yeah.
Frantz, why don't you drop a little hint on what you're working on now, or is now not the time?
Well, let's just say that for the past 10 years.
13.
Okay. Well, okay. Let me back up a little bit. Your addiction has been well chronicled. We started filming you right around CKY3, and when we did the movie Haggard, the behind the scenes of Haggard became the story of how we were all dealing with your addiction.
And that was what year?
We filmed that in 2000.
Okay.
No, sorry. Yes. Sorry, we filmed that in 2001. I remember that because I remember
2001
when we began to chronicle your addiction. Yeah. And so we, addiction was not as heroin addiction was not as prominent as it is now. And so it was, we had never met a heroin addict before. I've met a couple in Philadelphia, but I'm older than the other guys. And so everyone was trying to figure out what to do with you. And in the meantime, you were robbing Bam's skateboard, stealing from from April's purse. I mean, you couldn't keep a pill in the medicine cabinet. I mean, you would swap out fucking sleeping pills for aspirin, for fuck's sake, and blame it on Jen Ravel. I don't know what
Yeah.
So, as time went on, I would always film with you, even though a lot of times I didn't have an intention for the footage. It was therapeutic a lot of times. And so maybe about 10 years ago, there was a fellow named Jason Chapman, who is the owner of Charm City Skate Park. And he was always following around with a camera. He was going to edit it together. And so recently, me and Novak and Chapman sat down. Now, Chapman is very intuitive as the director of this material. And we all came to the conclusion that he needed a producer in order to complement his directorial skills. So I volunteered for the job. So we're currently in production of making of the feature-length documentary about Brandon Novak's journey through addiction and recovery and everything in between, which is, I've known a lot of addicts, Novak, and I've known quite a few people who've died of heroin, but the fact that even in the worst, in the thick of your addiction, on your worst day, you still had an impressive resume, man. Like you were on hit TV shows. You were you once had a promising skating career. You were the singer of a band. You were traveling the world. You were always doing all these incredible things that people your age would give their right arms to achieve. And in the same time, you're a raging alcoholic and drug addict. And so, but the thing is, through it all, there were some times when I know that you lost yourself and you were no longer you anymore. But but ultimately, through it all, you were never capable of violence. You were capable of stealing and lying and cheating and all this other stuff. But you always did, at the end of the day, when you sobered up, have a strong moral compass, and you wanted desperately to get better. Like you really did. Yeah. Even while you were using, on your worst fucking day, you wanted to get better. You just lacked the skills and discipline that you needed, that the 12 steps provided you. So anyway, that said, this is the story we're telling with this new documentary. So one thing I don't want, one of the problems I have about talking about projects that I'm working on is everyone always asks, Joe Frantz, what are you working on? What are you working on? And when I tell them the fucking trolls, the basement dwellers, the mom's attic people, they will always fucking say, like, I mean, look, first of all, there's an excitement if I'm working on something that it's going to be out. Like, when's it going to be out? When's it going to be out? Well, sometimes these things take a year. Sometimes the Streets of Baltimore, a Dream Seller took fucking 2 years to publish. The Streets of Baltimore took fucking 9 months over the span of 3 years to write, so it's like these things can take a while. So part of you as an artist is so appreciative that people care and you want to discuss what you're working on, but there's a fucking tightrope that you have to walk because people will hate you if it doesn't come out soon. When's it going to be out? When's it going to be out? I remember, and people have no idea of how long it takes to create something like this. I remember when we were shooting Haggard the movie, I was there with Bam and Ryan Dunn and fucking Deco and Rab. We were all there. And some kid came up and goes, hey, what are you guys doing? You're making a movie? We're like, yep. He goes, when's it going to be out? We said, well, we're going to film all week. We're going to edit over the weekend and it'll be out in theaters on Monday. And he goes, oh, cool. So like the comment, and everyone laughed at him, made him feel like shit, which was, I still feel bad about, but it was funny. But it goes to show you that the common person doesn't have any realistic, idea
of what the
sense as to how long these things take. Yeah. And I don't blame them. Why would they? So,
So that's why I asked you, right? Because it's a long-awaited project that people have heard me talk about for many of years.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And the reality is, I mentally had checked out. The project really took on a life within its own, and it became too big. And the creator of the project, Jason Chapman, just found himself in a position as a single father with all these different businesses and kids and bills and
he's a busy guy
and life that he found himself in a position that I believe, and I could be wrong, that him alone by himself was incapable of finishing this project, or in any time soon would that have happened.
Well, sometimes two heads are better than one, and it's like we work remarkably well together. Like he's so intuitive, he knows the story he wants to tell. And as far as the craftsmanships and the storytelling skills that I have, we make the perfect team.
Yeah,
I couldn't be fucking happier.
Perfectly. And again, like I was mentally checked out with the project, and as fate would have it, right, things aligned perfectly to where you came back in and you said, Novak, I can do this. I've created a gap in my schedule. If these things work out, then I can devote 100% of my time, 5 days a week. We've marked down the hours, the timeline of what you'll do in those days and months and weeks. And all of a sudden you speak Jason Chapman's language, right? I don't understand the film world. I don't know how that works and what you guys need. I'm a kind of guy, I just want to do it and worry about the repercussions of doing it later. And you brought it back alive. And as fate would have it, this long-awaited documentary is now in the production phase, and it's taking place. This thing is coming to life in the same room that the book Dream Seller was written, as well as The Streets of Baltimore. And it's all coming together, and we don't know what the distribution is going to look like on it. We don't know where it will air, how it will air. But what I can tell you, and you heard from the horse's mouth, Frantz, what we can tell you 100% fact is that it is in production right now. It is happening, and we will have a finished product in a few months' time.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all we know. But it's happening, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and I'm so excited. But yeah, it's just what I was saying earlier about trolls and basement dwellers. I was not speaking about the fans. Who I was talking about is there's a
it doesn't matter. Who gives a shit?
No. I just want to make it clear. There's a small echelon of people, of fans who they love to sit there on their high horse and talk.
Don't go back and revisit that. Who gives a shit?
Things. I know, but
21's fucking talking about it. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, you're right.
Keep saying it.
Yeah, you're right.
Hey, this has been phenomenal. I just wanted to throw that in to leave them with such a fucking great gem before we say goodbye.
And I ended on a negative note.
That's what's new, negative Nancy.
You suck. I'm
well,
the worst
Nancy,
person.
Positive Peter, how are you? You can start your day over at any time. Feelings aren't facts, and they pass, negative Nancy.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I like you. If you found yourself in a position during this terrible, terrible pandemic we found ourselves in called the coronavirus, and you're wrapped up with addiction and or alcoholism, call me directly, 610-635-9092. Me and my team will do whatever it takes to get you the help that you not only need, but more so deserve.
Yeah, I guess. Thank you so much,
Novak.
Taylor, tell us about the Might Be News Network and how the people watching can experience all the other entertainment that you provide.
Sure. Go to mbnnetwork.com. You can follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube, NBN Network. That's how you search for us. A lot of people are checking us out right now, live on Facebook, live on YouTube. It's great. We're doing some game nights on Friday nights. It's kind of we're doing the best we can right now with the crazy times. It's not the same volume that we've been doing, but we're really excited for things to get back to normal. We're really excited to get back on schedule, back on routine. We do a lot of shows. We have a lot of fun, and I'm glad that we were able to do this. I want to thank you guys for taking the time and hanging out with me, CJ, and the rest of your fans. This has been a lot of fun, and I want to do this again. I don't know when things are going to get back to normal, what the new normal is going to be, how it all is going to work out, but I want to keep doing this. The Might Be News Network has become a pretty big deal, and people seem to really enjoy it, and you guys are a massive part of that. So,
well, I think this is a great solution, man. I love you put this together. I honestly, I was like, man, I really like it. We're all in the same room at the same time. There's this synergy, this energy that we all create together when we're in the same place at the same time. This infectious laughter. There's Novak picking his nose right on camera. And
I've done worse on camera.
but this really worked out great. I had a lot of fun, man. This is awesome. So thank you so much, Taylor. I really appreciate you making this happen.
Absolutely. And so what's going to happen with this is that this video will remain on our Facebook page and on our YouTube page. So if you came in late and didn't see the beginning, don't worry. Literally, as soon as I click this button over here, it'll be available to watch the whole thing. Also, it'll happen probably tomorrow, maybe Tuesday, but I will be releasing just the audio for this as well. So stay tuned. Keep a lookout for that. That'll be on iTunes, Google, Spotify, everywhere. So keep an eye out. It's awesome.
Great. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching. We really appreciate it, and we're so happy that you joined us tonight. And we didn't really get to the comments. We're new at this, so we'll work out a way to get questions and stuff like that in the future.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We love you.
CJ, take us out.
Yeah. See you guys. Have fun. Be safe.
Bye, guys. Be safe.
Cheers.